I'm guessing you've heard of the 7.3 liter Godzilla engine that Ford has been putting into their line of 3/4 and 1 ton heavy duty trucks starting back in 2020. And if you haven't, well, I'm here to tell you, we won World War II, we put a man on the moon, and hey, the Cubs even won the World Series. All right, all kidding aside, I'm sure that even if you already knew all that, you're probably curious about the fuel economy of such a massive engine. Well, if that applies to you, you're going to want to check this video out. As of this recording, the Godzilla is the largest displacement gas engine in the Ford Motor line of trucks. Now, it obviously doesn't have the same output capabilities as the 6.2 Boss or the 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel that you can also get on the F250 and F350 trucks. But what it lacks in torque, 475 foot-pounds of torque in the 7.3 liter versus 1,050 foot-pounds of torque in the 6.7 liter diesel, and horsepower, 430 horsepower in the 7.3 versus 475 in the 6.7. But when compared to its diesel brothers, the Godzilla makes up for it in cost of the engine and maintenance and repair cost over time. But I'm not here to do a head-to-head comparison between the gas-burning 7.3 and the diesel-burning 6.7. To me, that is an apples to oranges comparison, and that's not the point of this video. There's a lot of factors that go into deciding whether you're going to go with a gas burner or with a diesel engine. Things like, how often are you towing? How heavy is what you're towing? Are you going to be operating in mountainous terrain? And lastly, do you need that deep throaty sound of a diesel engine to boost your confidence and hide your insecurities about yourself as a human being? Oh, yeah. We can just go ahead and cut that last part. What I'm going to show you in this video is a real-world fuel economy test of the 7.3 liter gasser and compare that to what I've been hearing that these trucks can achieve. Okay, so let's first set the parameters of this test so that we know what we're dealing with. So the truck itself is probably the most important thing to start with. What I'm driving is the 2020 F250 with the 7.3 liter Godzilla engine in it. I have a 6 foot 9 inch bed and I have a 4.30 axle ratio. The other option would be the 3.55, and I think in the diesel you can have a 4.1. And so that's going to make a little bit difference in the test. The lower axle ratio, so the 3.55, is going to give you better top end efficiency because it's not having to use as much power to go as fast. However, the trade-off is that on the lower end, i.e. the point of why you're buying a heavy-duty truck, is that torque. So you're sacrificing a decent amount of low-end torque for a very, what I've seen, minimal gain on the high end for the fuel efficiency. So that's something to think about. And again, I haven't verified this, or I'm not 100% sure, but from what I've seen from people doing tests with the 3.55 versus the 4.3, it sounds like the differences are very minimal. So the whole point of getting a heavy duty truck was so that I can pull heavy stuff. So I'm more concerned about the low end torque and the ability to tow stuff than I would be with getting a little bit more fuel economy. Some of the other baselines and assumptions in here is that I'm going to be driving in eco mode, which is the most efficient highway speed mode for this truck. The other mode would be normal, and you're going to want to drive using that in city driving or stop and go or local stuff where you're not really going to be getting up to speed and maintaining that for a long time. Now, I did compare the normal mode with the eco mode on another test, and it's not so much the efficiency. I think you get a little bit more efficiency from eco mode, but what you notice is when you're stopping and going and accelerating, it is much better and much smoother in the normal mode of driving than in eco mode. When you try and accelerate at a stoplight or at trying to merge with an on-ramp, that eco mode is definitely a detriment because it just wants to maintain. So when you stomp on it and ask for a lot more gas, it just doesn't want to do that. And it'll give it to you, but it's very jerky and not super comfortable. So I would definitely recommend using the normal mode during your daily driving, and then when you get up to highway speed, then go ahead and throw that eco mode on. But anyway, this test was done exclusively in eco mode. I was using 87 octane fuel, and while I was driving, I was trying to keep it at 70 miles an hour and in cruise control to the max extent practical. Where I'm driving at in Florida, it's relatively flat, very few hills, so that's a pretty good baseline there. And it was pretty warm. We were in the 75 to 80 degree temperature range. The good news about this test is that it's a much more realistic, real-world test. For the most part, we can be on the highway when we're driving to and from the office. But then when we get into town to either go home or go to the office, we have to stop and go a little bit. And there's obviously going to be some slowdowns or some speed ups at different times, even on the highway. So while this may not compare exactly to a test truck driven at the optimum weight and the optimum conditions on a track that never touches the gas pedal once it's up to speed and we just leave it in cruise control, this is going to be a lot more realistic. All right, guys, the conditions have been set. Let's hit the road. All right, guys, we're back on the highway. Had a little bit of city driving, so I kind of knocked down the mileage a tad. But we're right around 15 miles a gallon. We've been kind of going back and forth between 14.9 and 15.0. So looking pretty good for the test so far. Again, we're on eco mode, and essentially as much highway driving as I can just to kind of see how that looks. All right. Uh-oh, guys. Not looking so good here. We just went from about 14.8 to about 14.2 pretty quick. So we'll see if she catches back up. I did a little bit of city driving yesterday, so here we go. All right, guys. Getting ready to hit a new milestone. Gonna hit 10,000 miles in the new truck. And there it is. 10,000 miles. So far, still working that fuel economy test, and we're about 13.8 using nothing but eco mode, both during highway and city driving. And we have about 150 miles to go on the tank, so we will see how the rest of the test goes. I've got a pretty good amount of highway driving, so we'll see if we can make it to where we're going. It's about 60 miles each way, so it's going to be tight, but we'll see how it goes. Everybody loves Buckees. Alright, so we got 23.59 gallons. So we'll see. We'll do what the truck said on the fuel burn, and we'll do a what it actually burned based off of
fuel consumption. All right, see how it goes.
All right, guys, so according to the truck, what it's showing, we got on the trip, we got about 306.6 miles driven, and it's showing 13.7 miles per gallon average. We were using eco mode the entire time. There was some city driving mixed in with predominantly highway driving, and then you can see the trip time was just under 7 hours and 30 minutes. So I got the numbers here. The actual fuel burned was 23.589 gallons. So we'll do the burn on that. All right, so according to the truck, we had 13.7 miles per gallon. If you take 306.6 miles and divide it by 23.589 gallons, you actually come out with almost exactly 13 miles per gallon. So it was off a little bit. Well, there you go, guys. F250, 7.3 liter Godzilla motor. Essentially a full tank of gas is about 400 miles that you're gonna get out of this thing. And per the trip on this thing, it did about 13.8 miles to the gallon. And what I calculated at the pump was just almost dead nuts on 13 miles to the gallon. So, you know, it's a 7.3 liter engine. It's not gonna be the most efficient thing in the world, but you know, for what I need, it wasn't worth the cost to me to spend the extra about $9,000 new, or at the time it was like a $10,000+ upgrade, but it was worth it to not spend that, plus the maintenance and stuff like that. Now, if I was towing every day and I, you know, had something heavy, I haven't done a towing video yet, and I'll probably end up doing that more just so for my own edification, but to show you guys as well, might as well, right? But what I've read, and obviously it's weight dependent, right? But between 7 to 9 miles to the gallon for a moderately heavy trailer is what I'm hearing. Between, you know, 7 to 10,000 pounds, maybe a little bit more, and it obviously depends on the type of driving you're doing. So fuel economy definitely goes down when you're towing, but considering I probably only tow with this thing about 10% of the time, it just isn't worth it to me. However, if I was doing, you know, towing heavy stuff all the time, I probably would have gone with the diesel. However, it doesn't mean this thing can't, or you shouldn't tow with it. It's still got like a 20,000 pound towing capacity. You know, obviously your fuel consumption is just gonna go way up. So anyway, hope that was helpful for you guys. Basically what I'm coming up with is it's about up to 14 miles to the gallon on the highway, but realistically 13 to 14 miles to the gallon. And honestly though, I'm about 2/3 the way through my next tank of gas, doing it at just a normal standard driving. Now, what is the mode? It's called just normal drive mode. And I'm at 13.4 indicated, which probably means I'm just a shade under 13. So highway or city, it's pretty much the same. So that's actually kind of good to me, because typically there's a big drop or a significant drop when you do city stuff. And when I say city stuff, it was stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, a decent amount of acceleration, things like that. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Hope you guys like that. I'll keep trying to put these on here. If there's any other videos you'd like to see on this particular truck, full disclosure, I'm not a guy who takes trucks apart or anything like that. I'm just a normal dude that likes this truck. I've always been a Ford guy, and I sometimes tow my toys, my boats, trailers for doing rehabs, a bumper pull camper once in a while. I haven't done the fifth wheel before, so not something I've done, not something I'm opposed to, but so I'm just a normal dude. If you got normal dude questions and what's something you want to see on this truck, happy to show you. Feel free to inform me if I'm getting anything incorrect or something like that, and I'd be happy to correct it and go back and do a redo on the video so that we get the accurate information. All right, hope you guys liked it. We'll see you guys next time.